Hey, and welcome to Hallelujah Babes. We are your hosts, Loni and Tarrah, two besties on fire for Jesus.
A podcast where we keep it real about faith, salvation, and the goodness of God.
Get ready to join us on this uplifting journey of real stories, real faith, and real transformation.
So grab yourself a coffee, settle in,
and let's get started. Why, hello there, Hallelujah Babes. Welcome back. Welcome. Hey, Tarrah, how are you?
I'm okay.
You're okay?
I'm all right. I'm feeling, I have some anger issues going on right now.
Oh, no. Okay, Tarrah, is this girl talk? Do we need to walk off the ledge? What's going on?
I'm just so, I'm definitely getting attacked by Satan right now. I tend to get really riled up when I'm upset, when I just get mad, and I'm feeling that. I got into a little argument with a friend this morning, and it's just been, I'm just irritated, really irritated.
Okay, let's talk more. Well, we don't have to be specific, obviously, but what makes you feel irritated? What are you so irritated about? Like, what are you so riled up? Is it unresolved?
Yeah, I mean, this friend said something to another friend that I said, and it just got blown out of context. And it wasn't really like that. And now I don't know, I'm just really upset. I'm really uncomfortable. It's just got made into a huge issue and it's not even like that. And so I'm just upset. I'm irritated with this person. And I know that this friend didn't mean to cause an issue.
Yeah.
But and this person was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it to be like that. And I'm like, oh,
So
but
they apologized and you're still feeling frustrated.
Yeah. This person apologized and really, was like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean that for it to come off like that. And I'm like, yeah, well, it did. But yeah, so I am struggling because I want to give grace and I want to, the coolest thing about following Jesus is that we now have a guideline that we can go to.
Yeah.
And it's like, when I'm feeling this, what do I do? When I'm feeling that, what do I say? And so it's kind of nice to know that I have that, but it's still in that moment when your anger's flaring, your nervous system's all over the place.
Yeah.
It's just in that moment, I knew when I was getting ready this morning to come over here.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, Lord, you got to help me because I'm really mad.
Yeah.
I'm really irritated, very, very irritated.
Yeah. You've said that though. You said that that's been a struggle that you've struggled with. That you said that you've had just a harsh tongue and just, you respond well. So I think number one is always being aware, right, of our things, but to also give yourself some grace and know that you're human.
Okay.
And I think just let yourself breathe and process through it. But again, I would love to say that it's easy to not respond in the moment, but because we are humans, I feel like we do that, right?
Yeah.
You do get angry and those feelings are real feelings. But I think processing them sometimes is just a matter of okay, typically when people do things, it never has anything to do with us anyway, right? It's always, so I have to ask yourself, what was it about that bothered me so bad? Because typically it's not even about the other person or their actions. It's about something that's unsettled within. Maybe, this is a counseling session that we're going to have right now. Let's see if we can analyze this situation.
I mean, I'm sure this could be a good topic of conversation. I'm sure other people go through
are you kidding me?
These things.
Angers and feelings, and I'm by far the least person qualified. It's just understanding how humans are, and we all think we're these complicated beings, but we're really not. We're very much emotional beings that we all respond certain ways, and it's just typically when somebody does something that gets you so riled up inside, that is an inside issue, right? What is it inside? Why'd that trigger bother me so bad? And so looking in the mirror and saying, okay, Lord, heal this wound of mine, of having an anger or response to people. Maybe, and this is totally projecting, but sometimes I feel like when people do things and then it bothered you, you responded to it. Is it because of what this person did in that situation? Was it maybe something that has happened that you've done in the past? So it's something that you don't like about yourself. That's the guess. That is, I feel always the underlying issue.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is always, I think, questioned when something comes up emotionally, what is that wound?
Yeah. That's a good,
somebody hurt you before, is it just trauma? It's a wound. And so when you respond, it's not usually even because of them. It's because you're body's like,
right. And then the same thing with that person responding in the way that they did is a wound on them as well, that created them to respond in that way.
Yeah. I mean, if that person was truly sorry and picked up the phone and said sorry, then I think that in that moment, again, when they responded, it was based on their own triggers and their own wounds and their own insecurities, right? That is how I feel like I think that's how Satan manipulates us. It's like, again, he knows our triggers. He knows our wounds. He knows how to rile us up, you know? And so when you're trying to glorify God and walk on his path, I mean, we're living life, right? I mean, this life, it's never going to be easy. It's never going to be perfect. People are going to let us down and hurt us all the time. The choice is how do we choose to respond? Yeah. And I think having a relationship with Jesus and being aware of, okay, wow, like that hurt. Why did that hurt me so bad? Lord, remove this pain, this wound, this unhealed issue that's unresolved within me and help me have a little bit of grace.
Yeah. Well, I definitely need to apologize then to this person because I wasn't very graceful. And I mean, I didn't sit there and cuss at this person, but I have made some strides.
Huge strides.
I'm doing better, but yeah, I mean, it was very obvious that I was pretty ticked off. And so, yeah, I think this person was so kind, and I know this person has a temper as well. And that's something that God is working in their life, is their temper. And so now that we're talking and I'm able to kind of like step back and look at the situation, God did really work in that person in that moment. Like I reacted very like abrasive, and this entire time, this individual maintained gracefulness and kept profusely apologizing and saying, I didn't mean it like that. This is what I meant, but I'm so sorry that it came off that way. And if it made people uncomfortable, that was not my intention. Yeah. And I continue to be like, well, great. Awesome. Exactly. Like, well, it did do that. Yeah, so, exactly. You know, blah, 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 like going off. Yeah. So yeah, now I feel bad. Okay. I'm sorry. If you're listening, you know who you are. I will be calling you when I finish this podcast episode.
Well, again, I think it's about just healthy communication. And again, understanding people from like a psychology level, from like an emotional level, to know and really understand that nothing anybody does is ever about us.
Right.
It's the truth.
Right.
And it's hard to live life that way. Are you kidding me? You know, I mean, there's been so many times in my life that I have responded and been wounded, and just truly, I mean, that is my response too, you know, is just, I don't think I have a vicious tongue. I don't think that's ever been mine. I don't have a vicious tongue, but I do shut people out of my life.
Okay. Well, you run and you shut the door.
I do. I'm like, nope, I've been hurt my whole life. Like, you don't get to hurt me. Right. However, I have to say that's my immediate reaction. I've always known that. Like, it's just like, nope. Like, I put my guard up, I shut the door, like, you need to process. But I always feel like I'm the one that will come back and be like, okay, I may have reacted slightly. I didn't mean to push you out of my life. Yeah. I'm sorry for that part. And it's just owning your own weaknesses, because we all have them, right? I mean, we all respond certain ways that we do out of the, you know, amygdala part of our brain, which is the, you know, reptile part of our brain that is just the fight or flight survival mode. We don't think logically in that second. We just don't. And so you respond, you say and you do things, you run, whatever it is, right? When you're not thinking clearly. But as soon as you can get out of that situation and you can process, I think a healthy process is like, okay, I'm feeling bothered. Like, this is what's going on. And you kind of talk out the process from like now the logical part of your brain. You have to get out of that reactive state and back into the logical state and say, okay, what could I have done differently in this? And then if you have people that are willing to, you know, have conversations and work it out, then I think that's when you lay it out there and say, hey, okay, I'm really sorry for my part. And the other person says, I'm really sorry for my part. And that's the miscommunication. And yes, I shouldn't have done that. No, I shouldn't have done that. That is a healthy relationship. That I think that is what I was married for a long time. And I mean, I think that is what it takes, right? Is truly communication. Yeah. And it's hard to know how to do that. Like, it takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes a gracious heart, and it takes knowing what your wounds are, knowing what your triggers are, understanding your patterns and habits, and then if you're in a relationship with your partner or your friendships or your family, and letting them just know, like, this is my wound. This is my trigger. This is what I typically do, but just know this is what it means. Right? And you have to be able to come back and apologize for your part and own it. But there's a lot of people that don't know how to get past the ego part. So would you say that since you've changed, your heart, I guess you could say, since your heart has grown in Jesus, do you feel like it's a lot easier for you now to be more forgiving? Because before, what would you have done? Like if this was before?
I would have said a lot meaner things than I did.
I held back. Good job.
held back. And I probably would have closed the door completely, ghosted this person. Not very nice, not very kind, and like showing of Christ through me.
Yeah.
So now I'm feeling really bad.
That's not the point of this conversation, is to make you feel bad.
I know.
But it's funny when you, and not even funny actually, it's just, I call it spiritual warfare is what I call it, because I feel like you're always having to battle self. You're always having to battle our sinful nature. We're always having to battle our ego and our pride and our wounds. And it's hard to navigate, man. It really is hard, because people are people, and we're not inside your head. You're not inside my head. We're not each other. So we don't understand what other people's expectations are. We let expectations of people down all the time. And then people are like, well, I wouldn't have done that. And I wouldn't have done that. But that's because I'm not you and you're not me. We wouldn't have done those things because we don't think like that. So telling people, and especially in close relationships, like letting people understand your expectations, I think is so important, because if you don't express your expectations and your needs and your wants and your wounds and your triggers, I just feel like relationships don't stand a chance, because we are always under attack, right? We are always being attacked. And I always feel like Satan does attack. I do feel like those that are a bigger threat. I actually was just listening to something the other day. It was kind of interesting. They were saying that if you want to know what your purpose in life is, to look and see where the enemy attacks you the hardest. Because that is his biggest threat. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. For me, where I feel like the enemy has attacked me the most, I would say honestly, maybe in my relationships, and maybe in like my self-worth.
Oh, really?
I felt like
relationships with like anybody, like friendships, or like a male-female relationship?
Say all relationships. Mostly, obviously I was married with Jimmy for 20 years, and I was married for a very short time with somebody else. But I would say, I think that I always put so much of my worth in other people's hands, that when people would do certain things, or, Jimmy would let me down or fall short of an expectation that I had, that I felt like that is where Satan used a lot of my life to attack. And so, I don't know exactly when I was listening to that, about purpose and, this meaning, and I'm like, okay, Lord, like, I do think that is the area of my life that has been attacked by the hardest, but I don't really understand today, like what the purpose is behind it, or the mission behind it, or how to use it today. I think that those are the areas that I feel like attacked the most. What about you?
My temper.
Okay.
And how do I say this?
However it says, to say it. No holding back.
The other one would probably be with like men, lust.
Just like sexual sin.
Yeah, just, lusting after someone that I find extremely attractive. I've made a commitment to God that I am not going to have sex until I'm married. And the Bible is very clear that sex is between a husband and wife, and that God hates sexual sin. And I made that commitment when I got saved recently. And I'm like, I'm not going to date, I'm not going to entertain men. And I have to beat men off with a stick. Pretty much. Great. Like, they come for me out of the woodwork. I don't even know who half these people are. I get messages everywhere I go, the gas station, the gym, just everywhere I'm at. Men are trying to like date me and talk to me. And I'm like, no. But also there's this particular guy that I find extremely attractive. And it's just like this feeling comes over me that I physically get hot when I see him.
Really?
Yeah, I physically get hot. Like, I'm literally fanning myself. I'm taking off my coat. Like, well, we're not wearing a coat anymore.
Yeah.
But this is like, and I am just like, really, like, God, come on, help me out here. I need to pray. I'm getting hot over here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are my problem areas is
Yeah.
my anger and just men, like getting, like having that attention of men, wanting men
So
to.
do you feel like that's where Satan has attacked you the most in your life?
I think so. Let me think about that. Do you happen to know, or
How he's attacked you? No. Well,
I think so.
Because it's hard to say, right?
My
'Cause even when I
yeah.
was thinking, when I literally just heard this pastor speaking about this, and it really did make me stop and be like, like where in my life have I been attacked the most? And that is what just kept showing up for me, was in my marriage and in my self-worth. And how I think, because I've always wanted so badly to have like a healthy, happy marriage and a family. I love big family. I love the family unit. I just love it, and my family unit was always broken growing up. And then I had a really unhealthy family unit within, with Jimmy. And that was just problem was because of our choices and living such a life of sin. God's never going to bless us when we are not honoring him.
Yeah.
And so just the discontentment always of that not feeling enough, right? I always wanted Jimmy to choose me. I always wanted to be like his number one. I always wanted to feel important to him. Jimmy loved everybody. He was so good at loving everybody that I was like, but I'm your wife. Like, you should love me a tiny bit more, right? And just be a little bit more loyal to me than you are to everybody, or an next door neighbor that you don't even know.
Yeah.
But he just had that serving heart, because that's where he got his worth from, right? So we all respond out of things. And so I think that maybe was my biggest wound, is really just wanting a healthy family. Okay. And then, jumping into another relationship and feeling like it was this perfect little thing, like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I always wanted, right?
Yeah.
A person that was home all the time and we spent all the time together. Like, it seemed like a dream.
Yeah.
But it was all built out of sin. I moved in when I wasn't married. We were having sex outside of marriage. We blended our families outside of marriage. And Satan, he uses our desires to fulfill our needs. And so we do things that are maybe not overly healthy, that are not God's will. And then we're like shocked when it doesn't work out. Right. We're shocked when pain comes. Yeah. We're shocked, like, oh my gosh, Lord, like, what the heck? Like, why would this happen? He was like,
I told you.
Yeah.
It says in the Bible.
Exactly. You know exactly what it should have looked like. And you didn't do that. You didn't, you weren't honoring me by any means and putting me in a relationship whatsoever. I didn't have a relationship with God really at all at that point. I was fully immersed in a relationship with another human being. And then when that human being lets you down, you're destroyed, because you have all of your worth, all of your love, all of your everything into another human being. Yeah. It's a lot of pressure to put on another human being. Because people are wounded, flawed, and broken, and have their struggles and their issues. And so they are going to fall short of your expectations. And when they do, it's heartbreaking. But God's like, it's because you put everything into them. Like, you need to put everything into me. And if somebody else lets you down, let me hold you up. Right. And that is what I think is missing in the world today. And so I think that that's what I learned, right? I learned through heartache. I learned through my experiences. And that's where I feel like Satan has hurt me the most. So I don't know where that is. Now, maybe I'm on an amazing marriage one day. And all the lessons that I've learned, and we can teach other people how to do it. I don't know what that missionary or that purpose looks like, because I'm single and told God, I made a commitment to him to be single for a year and work on building myself with him and understanding and getting my foundation solid. That's also, if you don't have a solid foundation, I don't think that bringing any type of relationship into your life is a good idea. That's because you're unsturdy.
That's very true. Yep. Yeah, I'd say the two things that always was hard for me is that Satan uses to attack is my anger, like stirring up anger in me when I am wronged, when I feel that I'm wrong, even if they didn't intend to. If I feel attacked in any way, it was just like I get so angry. And then also, just wanting that attention, that love from a man. And I talked about all that in my testimony, right? So that's pretty much, and those are the things that God wants me to work on, and I am working on them. But also, you can't become good in that area if you don't get tested, right? So that's why I do feel that these things are coming for me, these little tests. And it's like, I'm never going to be sharp at it if they don't happen for me to learn to.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that, because for 20 years, I was with Jimmy, and our relationship was really difficult, and again, it was because it was all based around partying, and it was all based about friends, and it was all based around the world and money and work and success. And we had a great life. We had all the things, like it should, from the outside looking in, you'd be like, wow, like why this should be working flawlessly. You guys have healthy, beautiful kids. We were a family. We had a beautiful home. We had a successful business. We had all the things. Like if you had to check boxes that you'd be like, wow, they nailed it. But we both always had this disconnect, and that was because we were missing God, like the foundation of our relationship. And so it's funny how, I lived that for 20 years, mind you, in and out. We had broken up, we got back together, we always tried to figure this out. We knew we loved each other. We were just like, what is the missing link here? And never fully was able to surrender to God because of my own wounds. I was always fearful that, okay, like if I change my life and I go and I stop the party and stop the drinking, Jimmy's not going to choose me. He's going to choose his friends. So that wound held me in a situation for so many years that I hated myself for it because I was just weak. I felt like, right? Like I'm not able to step out and become the person that I know God created me to be because I was so fearful of losing my marriage and breaking up my family. And I didn't want that. I didn't want my kids to come from divorce. I'm going to break this generational curse. Like I just remember feeling that way. But then Satan would get in and, like, oh no, he's just not into you and you deserve like a loving family and, just confuse you and what he does and just distracts with all the lies. And so it was a rough patch. Well, then, Jimmy passed away from cancer. And so then God, again, I was leaning on God heavily when Jimmy passed away. Like I was like, just like, give me through this, Lord. But I also had a lot of anger and resentment towards him. Like what the heck, God, like, why would you do this to me and my kids? Like, so I had this like internal battle of not fully surrendering because I almost didn't trust God. It's like, well, you didn't heal or fix that situation. So it looks like I'm on my own and I have to take things into my own hands. And so I started running my own life and I literally found myself reliving my old life. And I think that that's when you say, God is going to test you to see, you didn't want that life, Loni, for 20 years. You didn't want that life. Yet the opportunity of safety, security, yet jumped right in and you didn't trust me at all. And you're just like, okay, I want this life again because I want to be safe and I want to feel protected. And I think God was just like, nope. Like you failed the test because now you're living your same exact life with the same exact situation, the same exact lifestyle. Nothing changed when he knew that my heart wanted to change so much. And I think that that's why I'm always so grateful because God made situations so this is just a hard line for me. Like this is a hard no. And it was either sacrifice myself and my belief and all of the things that I stood for, or I left. And so when they come so clear, like I was like, this is an absolute no, hoping that the person you're with maybe would change or want to have a heart change or whatever. And they're like, no, it was God closing that door so close. And I think it was because it's protection. He's like, no, like you're not going to relive that life again. You're not going to just get stuck for another 20 years doing the same 1 foot in, 1 foot out, pretending to be like this happy little family, but living in a full life of sin with discontentment and lack of him. And so I do believe that God will continue to bring the same situation into your life over and over and over again until you decide to choose a different path and to pivot and to heal.
Totally. Oh, yeah. Because when you stop it, you stop that cycle.
You do.
And then that's it.
Yep.
I believe that wholeheartedly, for sure. I'm stopping the cycles. I have been, as far as like all these men are throwing this. I'm beating them off with sticks, man. I'm beating them off.
So
I'm like,
crazy,
nope. I'm like, where have all these men been? I'm telling you, like 2 to 3 a day.
Okay, that's crazy.
Are contacting me.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue, old friends, old people from my past. I mean, just crazy. And I'm just like, God.
So what are you doing to stay strong?
I truly believe in my heart. This was not me before Christ, I should say. I believe in my heart what God told me. Like I said on the podcast a few episodes ago, that God told me that he has someone for me and he wants me for a year. And I believe that in my whole heart that he told that to me. And I was not wrong what I heard. And so I know that these people aren't from God, you know? I know they're not. And so I tell them, you know, I'm sorry, I'm not dating.
Yeah.
I'm
in a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. And and here's the thing, it's not hard because I genuinely will not go down that road, Loni. Like, I do not want it.
Yep.
I do not want what is not meant for me from the Lord.
Totally.
Absolutely not.
Well,
I will
you
be
did it for
single.
so long.
I did it. I'm 41 years old. I've done it my whole life, and I will not do it one more day. And if I end up single for the rest of my life, that is okay with me. I mean, I don't want to be single. I would love. I mean, yeah, I didn't say that. No, Lord, let me replay that.
Expectations that you do have a husband.
Yeah. But seriously, like, I do not want to go down that path.
Yeah.
I would rather be single for the rest of my life and just be full of the Lord and what He has for me, and just going to church, hanging out with you, and doing our podcast and building my businesses. Like, that's fine. Yes, I would love to have a partner, a husband one day, but I would rather be single than be in a situation that God does not have for me. That is terrible.
Yeah.
I've done it a lot.
Yeah.
I will never do that again.
Yeah.
I will never. So.
Well, because they become so difficult, man. It's not even enjoyable.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
And again, that's where it goes to, you know, Satan uses our wounds to, you know, draw us into these things. And then, you know, we just tend to almost like hyper focus is kind of how I feel, like, on like, oh my gosh, like I want it so bad, right? You know, I wanted this healthy family, happy unit so badly that I was taking control and thinking, okay, this is what I think it's going to look like. And nope, this person hits all the boxes, like, perfect. Like, this is amazing. Right.
Yeah.
But not honoring God in any of my life. And it's like, if there's anything that's so clear to me now, is that God will not honor our lives when we do not honor Him.
Right.
He just won't. And so it's so worth the wait, because again, I feel the same way as, yes, of course, I don't want to be single forever. And, you know, I would love to find somebody and be able to get married and enjoy, you know, the second half of my life with somebody. But on the flip side of that is, I've done the broken, chaotic, hectic, party, disconnected relationships and lifestyle. And that to me is not worth it. The peace that I have today of just this full contentment and full self-love and full I just want to say the best word you can use is just like, there's just this full center of peace where it's like, I don't need to have anybody in my life at this point. And I've never in my entire 40 years of this life ever felt that way. I always thought I needed something. It was either a friend, my mom, a partner, whatever it was. But to come full circle, and I think that's all God is, to come in and to fill that void that I had within me, I can see why people are single for so long. It's because it's so peaceful. Like, you're just like, okay, like, I don't want to disrupt my pocket of peace here. You know, I already had hurt my kids so much going through what I went through. I mean, it was hard on them. And so it's like, they lost their dad, and then they went through this other situation. And I'm just like, okay, like, I am going to be so particular and so slow and so looking for a man that is so fearful of God.
Yep.
And that honors God at everything that He does before I would even allow somebody else into my life. Because if they know how to honor God, then they know how to honor themselves, and they know how to honor us.
That's right.
If you do it opposite, and people are honoring the world, people are honoring, you know, just everything, sin, this and that, you know, because they don't honor themselves, there's that wound, that brokenness, that discontentment from God, that all that dishonor gets brought into our world. And that's what I call spiritual warfare, of just, it's heaviness over relationships, over families, and our kids feel it. We feel it. It's just, you just feel in this chaos of living, and it's so dysfunctional. It's not what I want to teach my kids a relationship should look like. You know, I want to teach my kids how to honor God in all that they do, to have full self-love and be fully content with who they are. So then when they date somebody or they marry somebody, they can be a spouse that's on a solid foundation, because we're going to have times where we fall short, right? Our husbands are going to let us down. As wives, we're going to let our husbands down. But if we both have a strong foundation, and we honor and fear God, and we try our best to live by Him, you're held accountable by somebody so much greater than ourselves. You know, you can love somebody so much, but if you don't have self-love, it's really easy to let those other people down. Because if you can't even honor yourself, let alone, if you're not honoring God, what makes you think that you're ever going to honor me?
Yeah.
Right? That's just not, it's not going to happen.
Right. It's my dream to have a man that loves the Lord so much and is so surrendered to God, where like we worship the Lord together, we pray together, just everything, like surrender, full surrender,
Totally.
That's another thing, is because this is the path that I'm on. I would never accept any less. And I truly am not. I'm not. I have a lot of suitors asking me out, and I will not. I will not. And I want that, a man that fears God and just loves God and can lead me to God, even though I obviously have my relationship with him, but as a man, as a leader, lead me into worship and loving the Lord with him, and doing that together. That's like my idea of a dream relationship.
I think that's the idea of everybody. I think all men and women want that. Men want honor and respect. Women want to have a man that you can honor and respect, that you trust to lead the family. But our society is so broken and so wounded. And there's so many wounded, broken, weak men that Satan has destroyed, and what happens is when men are weak and they're falling and stumbling, women now have to step into the masculine, and they have to now be the one that are leading the family. And then you lose respect for your husband, and then the husband doesn't feel respected, and it's like the order got disrupted. God is a God of order. The order is God, man, woman, family. That is it. And we didn't make it. And yes, all the women out there be like, oh no, women are just as strong as men. No, we are not. God didn't design us to be as strong as men. God designed us to be softer, to be a little bit weaker. Men are to lead us. But when women have to step into that warrior role, I think it's really unattractive to a lot of men, especially a healthy man.
For sure.
Because they don't want the woman to be the warrior. They want to love and support and take care of. And there's nothing more attractive on the planet than a man that is so on fire for Jesus, that is so surrendered to God, that it's not even about his ego or pride. Right. He has such a heart for the Lord that he is willing to sacrifice his own ego and his pride, because he knows that he needs God in order to be strong. A lot of men, I think, oh, I'm strong, I don't need God. That's for weak people, broken people, wounded people. And I'm like, well, how's that working for you? How's that ego? How's that pride working for you? And it will take you to a very lonely life.
Yep.
A broken life. And then at the end of your life, you're going to look back and just think, is it worth it? Is ego and pride worth it? I mean, let God come in and just surrender your life to him and give it over and follow God's order. It would change our entire society. It would heal literally the United States of America. We're so broken, but Satan knew. He knew if he could attack men and destroy them, it would break the family unit. It would mess up our children, and we'd become a weaker society. And we are just a lost, floundering world now, because nobody has the foundation of just strength and order. And it's all like wounds and trauma. And I mean, we all know what divorce does to kids, right? We're all this from divorce, right? And how many wounds has it caused us in our lives? And, that self-worth issues and like the lack of love issues and all these things that we're just missing because our family unit was disrupted. If we could fix that, I think it starts by men connecting with God, women connecting with God, men running the women running the families. I think that if we just followed God's order, it'd be a lot better place to live in.
I hear you. Amen.
Amen to that. Come on, people, let's get our stuff together.
Yeah.
What does it take? Hard. Full surrender is hard though.
Oh, yeah.
Because Satan has everybody so fooled that they can't do it.
Right.
Actions and dopamine hits and parties and the world, the life, the world.
I mean, we live in the sin, we live in the sinful world.
You're just so drawn to sin. It's like all like Vegas, right? You're walking all the lights, like, oh my gosh, looks so fun. And then you leave and Vegas took all your money. You might have done something with a prostitute. And you're like, oh my gosh, I take an STD home. Like, I mean, whatever, you leave there. Like, it was like you went into it thinking it was this amazing thing, and you come home like, oh,
with your tail between your legs.
That is like what sin does. It looks so fun and so exciting, and you go down that path, and then it's so destructive.
Very.
And I know that everyone's like, oh, Christians are so judgmental and it's so, tight this and that, but Jesus is not. Jesus is the least judging person I've ever met. He's the most gracious human on the planet, and he loves you so much. He truly wants so much for us. Satan has us deceived that this is the straight and narrow, boring path. That is a lie.
It's true. Well, good talk.
I agree. Well, do you feel better?
I do. And now I need to go apologize to my friend.
Okay, and in other news, to finish up on our last podcast, how's your sugar going? You're not eating of sugar.
Good. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I'm doing good.
Good for you.
Yep. Yep.
Do you feel like you've gone through the purge at all? Like the down?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, but it's getting easier every day. Yeah.
Hey, well, we're proud of you.
Good. Thanks.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
And go apologize. Another apology tour.
God's like, hey, I think we're going to have to make this 2 years. 2 years on the apology
I'm
tour.
proud of us. I feel like we are trying. That's the thing that we do is we're not even trying. We are doing.
We're doing it.
We're doing it.
Yep.
Yes, we fall short every day. And yes, we're living proof that we are humans. And even though if you wake up every day, you start your day with Jesus, you're still going to get taken off the path. But every day we go right back on. Yeah. Like, Lord, okay, sorry, forgive us.
Yeah.
We try to do our best.
That's the best. That's the key, I think, is you mess up, even if it's small or big, big or small, you just get right back on your path, get in the word, put on some worship music, get close to God, just get closer and closer, especially during that time when even if it's hard. Like today, for instance, I was so upset, and I'm not even kidding. This is how I know this is a spiritual battle, because I kept saying to myself, I need to read the Bible right now. Or like maybe put on some worship music, something, because I was literally like, I was angry and I was like activated, nervous system activated. And I kept saying to myself, I need to pray. I need to read the Bible. I need to do something. Whatever was going on in me was literally pushing away the Bible. Like, no, you're so mad. Yeah. Don't do that. Yeah. Like that's real talk right there. I was having a serious spiritual battle going on. Wow. And I was like, I need to do this. This would probably help. And then the other part of me was like, no, don't do that. You're so mad right now. You can't even think. Yeah. Like, what do you mean read the Bible? You can't even think right now. You're so upset.
That's crazy.
I know. Straight up.
Yeah. They always have that vision of like the devil on one side and the angel on one side.
Yes, it was.
That is, people make fun of that. Like it's like a joke, but that's the perfect prime example of spiritual warfare. It's a battle happening around us that we cannot see, but it's happening every single day. And it's the good versus the bad. And we have that. Our soul is naturally good, right? Connected with God. It's our soul and our hearts know right from wrong. That is, we are born with that instinct. Yeah. But the wrong is just so loud in the world that we live in, and the more and more loud that it becomes, the more that we start listening to it more, the louder it becomes that you barely even hear the good anymore. That good gets so far, so distant, so shut out that, it's normal to have that fight. Yeah. You just got to choose the right voice. Yep. And just get right back on and get back into the word. Exactly. I'm glad that we talked about this. Me too. Well, if anybody's out there having a rough day or you're angry with somebody, 2 things. Know, number 1, that anything anybody does is never about you. And if it's truly hurting you so much on the inside, look in the mirror and ask why. What is that wound inside that you need to work on that somebody is able to hit? Because that's a you thing, truly. Mm-hmm. Number 2, pray and get over to God. Just truly, Lord, this is the wound that I have. I ask that you take it, that you heal it, that you restore it fully, and heal my heart. And he will. Yeah, I'm getting healed right now. God's healing me. He's petting me again. Hey, there you are, Lord. Are you sure that's not Lola? Oh. Pet me, Mom. I know. Awesome, everybody. Well, I hope everybody has a fantastic week. We'll talk to you on the next one. Bye.